This episode of Baby, This is Keke Palmer is sponsored by our friends over at Audible. There's more to imagine when you listen. Now, let's start the show.
Oh, that's such a good question. Not the evil laugh. Oh, yeah. You know, like that growl that she has.
Wait a minute, you sound exactly. Oh, yeah. You sounded exactly like her. What the heck?
These are some of my closest friends to this day. Like, it was a real community. I stopped thinking about, you know, like the labels and what a hit song is. Like, none of that mattered, and I was just having fun.
I just know one day you're going to kill us with an amazing soundtrack record, too, and give us that, you know.
Ooh.
I just can't wait.
Speak it.
What's up, mama?
What's happening? What's going on? I'm trying to get my light right, girl.
Ain't nothing going on but the rent. Is that somebody's song?
You got to have the J-O-B. You want to be with me.
Who sings that?
No romance without finance. Some dance person. Gwen,
I know you
her
always
name
used to
was.
sing that. Just every now and then
Yeah.
you sing that. That's why I know it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I
who
know
sang
she was from New Jersey. That's what I remember, because I remember I was living in Irvington, New Jersey when that song came out.
it. That's such a random little detail. But speaking of
Yeah.
music and artists, you know, there's something that I always play with in my own career and just in my own thoughts. You know, the whole mainstream versus niche thing. And that's kind of what I
Yeah.
wanted to talk about today, is because success is such a nuanced thing. Like, success doesn't look just one way. And what's
Right.
important to you, you know, looks different for everybody. When we were starting, and I'm not talking about the early days, right? I'm talking about when
Right.
you and I knew that we were going to do this thing, you know, with this Keke Palmer thing, and that it was a brand. There was a particular moment where I know that you decided to not focus so much of my career on indie success, because in the beginning I kind of did come very indie. That was our drive, was to do real child acting. You know, we did Aquila and the Bee, and I was with Lawrence Fishburne and Angela Bassett. I mean, I got nominated for the SAG Award doing The Wool Cap with William H. Macy and, you know, Don Rickles and Catherine O'Hare.
Right.
And it was always just super serious stuff. But then I got the opportunity to do True Jackson VP. And I remember you always talking about this one mom that's like, well, I thought Keke was a serious actor. Like, why would she be doing like Nickelodeon,
Right.
you know, Disney or franchise type of work?
Right.
So for you, you know, what was your idea of success as a person steering my career? And what were your thoughts putting me more in a mainstream kind of commercial career path once I started doing Nickelodeon and Disney?
Yeah, so I think, like, in the beginning, it's just trying to find quality work, right? You know,
Yeah.
it's not about money, or like when you're a child entertainer, you don't really have a whole lot of options. And when you're a Black female entertainer, little girl, you know, you can count on one hand what that career looks like. It's mainly a career of commercials. You were not a commercial kid. So you didn't do a lot of commercials. You do a lot of commercials now, more so than you did when you were a little kid.
Yeah, way more now.
Yeah, and so when you're a child actor, if you're not a commercial actor, and what does that mean? That means that some kids get a lot of commercials. Like, I have a friend, her daughter used to do at least 10 commercials a year. You know, because she had the look that they wanted, you know. And so if you don't have it, the commercials often are looksies. And if you don't have that, then they don't pick you. But anyway, in the beginning, we just looked for quality work. You know, we auditioned. But by the time you got to be like 14, 15, then some strategy came in. But you said something to me.
Really?
That really, you know, you said that you went to an event and there was a kid that was there that was your friend, and you said that, wow, you know, like, everybody knew him from his TV show. And you were like, wow, you know, it was great. You were happy for him. You were happy that he was
I know
on
who you're
a
talking
hit
about.
TV
You're talking
show.
about Malcolm David Kelly.
Yes. Yeah, he was in the TV series
I
Lost.
remember this. Yeah, I remember this.
And at the time, Lost was a huge show. It was like the number one show. And he was at the end. You guys were at the NAACP award, and you said, "Wow, everybody was like coming up to Malcolm, and it was so great." And I thought about that. I said, "He's on a TV show." And I said, that's what she needs. Yeah, TV show gives you a schedule. It gives you a steady paycheck. It gives you it gave you steady school. It was stability, but my friend, like you said, a friend of mine, I was telling her, I was like, Keke is up for this Nickelodeon TV show called True Jackson. And I remember my friend, or an acquaintance at the time, she
Damn,
says,
she got dropped down.
"What?" She she said, "Why would you let her do a Nickelodeon TV show? She does movies." And I was like, well, because Nickelodeon is hot right now, Disney is hot right now, and she and she wants to work with kids. But I wanted to say, bitch, what is it to you? Goddamn.
Yo, the fact that the actor mom thing, oh my gosh, I could do a whole episode on that because you guys be beefing back. I remember having such a blast being at the thing. It's like, well, my daughter did it. Well, my son is. Oh, well, it's interesting because that casting director, they always pick your child. Has she ever been chosen by anyone else? Like, everything was always so. Nah. But you've said a lot of things, obviously, when it comes to that choice and being part of like kind of a mainstream corporation like Nickelodeon. It was the consistent check. I mean, if we think about it just like in that form, it's a consistent check. You know when to be where you're going to be.
You know what? This is a business. It is a business, guys. It's a business. And if you're raising a family and you're always on the road and you're separated, then you're going to look for some stability and you're going to look for a place where you can raise your kids. And in terms of money, let's just talk about the money thing head on, because a lot of parents run, a lot of parents run from the money. Like, I actually had to tell a friend of mine, again, an acquaintance, I knocked this down too. She was on the phone talking to me. Okay, so here she goes. She's on the phone talking to me and she's like, I could never, ever do what you do. I could never, ever quit my job and travel around the country. I said, if your daughter made 7 figures, you could.
Sure.
You can figure out how to quit that job. You can figure out how to quit that damn job. You can figure out a lot of shit with 7 figures a year. Yeah. So that was some bullshit.
Sharon, this is too much.
But let me just say this. When you start in this industry, no one in their right damn mind thinks, well, my daughter is going to have her own show. My daughter is going to do this. But you don't think that. You just say, my daughter or my son is talented. I'm going to see where this goes. You know what I mean? So for her to act like I was doing something wrong.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. What is the danger in, because obviously there is this idea that being mainstream and being a part of mainstream, or even if we just break it on down and, being closely adjacent to white America is where everybody needs to be, right? It's the highest thing, whether you're talking about business or entertainment. It's, that's what people say all the money is, all the viewership is, etc.
Yeah.
And there's this idea that being niche or whatever, it can only go so far, or it's not as big of an impact. It's not as important as mainstream. What do you think the danger is in that thinking?
I get why Black America, like a lot of Black entertainers, they want to cross over. That's a word that we were raised to know. Like, you want to crossover. You want to be a crossover act. And everyone, and Michael Jackson, when Michael Jackson did his album Off the Wall, which to me is my favorite Michael Jackson album, he was very disappointed because he only got Grammy nominations for Best R&B Vocals. And he thought, like, no, I'm popular. I sold, millions and millions of records. So I'm not just an R&B artist. And so that's why when he did Thriller, he really focused on pop. Michael Jackson, the king of pop. He created that because he didn't want to be overlooked. He had a strategy. It worked. But I just think for young entertainers, it shouldn't be about that. And, it's just, fame is not real. It's not real. It's just a word.
I love that sharp turn. Fame is not real. It was just like we were talking about something, and then it was fame is not
Well, I just mean that like people. I guess I said that because
I know what you mean, though.
Most people pursue those words like I want to be famous. I want to be this. I want to be like that's not even. Those are not real words. They're just something somebody made
and I think
up.
what you're saying in terms of like we get the concept of being a mainstream success, but you know, striving for that, similarly to striving for fame, is so superficial, and it absolutely can be falsified in terms of the work. You know, if what you're striving for is to be big and not to have impact and to not have intentionality behind what you do, then what is the point? That's what you're saying. You know, because you wanted me to be seen, but you wanted me to be seen for a reason. Not you wanted me to be seen, or we want to be seen, or we want the work to be seen because we just want to be seen. No, it's because I feel like what I'm saying, it might be worth something, or I feel like this might mean something. I feel like, you know, it's not solely just based in the concept of what I think I'm going to gain by being super famous. You know what I mean?
No, I thought that by having, first of all, you impressed me. And not just because you were my daughter, just because I was an acting coach. I worked with many, many high school students, as you know. And so when I started working with you, you could memorize so quickly and you could follow directions so quickly. So I was impressed with you. I was like, this little girl is smart. And so then my mission became that, wow, people need to see her. People need to see that there's this little girl who can memorize very quickly, who is energy or just a bundle of joy, who's just happy to entertain and be there. People need to see this because people need to see it because it inspires me, but it's going to inspire so many generations of people the way that Donna Summers inspired me, the way that Diana Ross inspired me.
So pretty much you're the Colonel and I'm Elvis Presley. Thank God that you didn't sign me to a bad residency deal. God rest his soul. Mom, you're amazing. I could keep talking to you for days on this, but I got to talk to Tori, our girl. So I'll holler at you later.
Awesome.
I may be grown, but I do love the magic of back to school season. Okay, new beginnings, new stationery, I love it all. Plus, I've always been a sucker for good old-fashioned collegiate drama every now and then, which is why this month I decided to listen to Donna Tartt's The Secret History on Audible. Yes, for all my dark academia girlies, this one's for you. Okay, it's about a group of co-eds who suddenly, in the middle of the semester, find themselves embroiled in murder and blackmail. The way the author builds the complex atmospheric world at an elite New England college, it's like I can see it all playing out in my mind as I listen. The characters, the mystery, the darkness, and the immersive audio. It's absolutely captivating. And that's the thing about Audible. Listening to stories like this just takes your mind to places it's never been before. Whether it's fiction, nonfiction, self-help, you name it. When you listen, your imagination soars. There's a whole new level of possibility that opens up. As an Audible member, you get to choose one title a month to keep from their whole entire catalog. And let me tell you, their selection is off the charts. So do yourself a favor and try Audible. There's more to imagine when you listen. New members can try Audible free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/Keke or text KEKE to 500-500. That's audible.com/Keke or text KEKE to 500. Now, if you'll excuse me, I got some more listening to do. Baby, this is Keke. Well, guys, I am absolutely thrilled to have today's guest here. I've followed her career for years. I've also known her for years. She's won 2 Grammy Awards. She's been on American Idol and The Masked Singer. We performed together once. And she just dropped a new album in April called Tori that is a really fun throwback to Y2K pop, which we love. Tori Kelly, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Girl, what's up?
Hey, we have known each other for a while. I always forget that we've known each other since we were like actual children.
I know. It's crazy, like through Billy Clark, through Taylor Parks. Like we have just known each other forever.
Yeah, Billy Purnell, vocal coach stuff. I feel like that's how we originally met. was through
The vocal coach.
Billy Purnell, yeah. But I still actually use him for stuff. Yeah, all the time.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
on
You
tour.
gotta tell him I said, hey, girl.
I will. I will.
I feel like you also are your own vocal coach. It's really strange. Like, I don't know, do people in your family sing, or have you just always kind of been that kid in your room that's watched videos and been able to like train yourself?
I think it's a mixture of both. I mean, my dad, I would say my dad sings for sure. Like, he has a great voice, and he grew up, like, he was in bands and stuff in high school. He plays bass. My mom has a really musical ear as well. So I think it was a mixture of them just loving music and kind of like, you know, surrounding me with good music and good vocalists, while also I think I really was and still am like just a student. Like, I always feel like I'm just trying to learn. And I think I was really good at like imitating vocalists really young. So my thing was like, how do I try to find my own voice? Because I would start sounding too similar to like another artist, and my dad would be like, okay, you're done listening to them. Like, moving on. So he was good at picking up on that too. But that was my struggle, was like finding my own voice. Like, what does Tori Kelly sound like? Because I was always so inspired by other people.
I mean, that's so interesting to hear you say, because I feel like you're known for having Tori Kelly's voice. Like, I feel like people sound like you now.
It's so weird. That's weird.
It's so cool, because I feel like, you know, I would not guess that, like, so who were some of the people that inspired you or that you would listen to a lot growing up? Because I'm like, I can't even really think of who that is.
Yeah, well, it's a mixture for sure. I mean, I think gospel music was a big foundation for me.
A little Kim Burrell. You have great control.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Kim Burrell for sure. Jay Moss was a big one. Anything Kirk Franklin, Mary Mary was huge.
Ooh,
so
yes.
Yeah, I love them. But yeah, I mean, yeah, gospel. Well, Krista Lewis, I always give her a shout out too, because I think she was huge in just like her technique. I was obsessed with her. Stacey Orico was another one. So like that Christian gospel space, I grew up on a lot of that stuff. But then my dad would also be playing like Jill Scott all the time, Maxwell, D'Angelo. So it's not like I tried to sound. I don't really sound like those artists, but I think they somehow made their way into my style too. A lot of space in those, in those records to like. My dad and I would go back and forth and like have riff battles, and just, there's like a lot of space. But then I think that was like the foundation. And then I always just personally loved pop music. So I would listen to like Christina Aguilera and start getting the growl and like copy her like, oh yeah, like that growl that she had.
Wait a minute, you sound exactly, oh yeah. You sounded exactly like her. What the heck?
I would start singing her songs, and that's an example of my dad being like, okay, like you sound great, but let's try to figure out like what your style is. There's literally the first show I did as a kid, America's Most Talented Kids. It's on YouTube, and you can kind of hear, like, I'm singing a Christina song, and you can hear me, I think, leaning a little bit into that style. So she was big. Celine Dion, always loved like Brandy and Mariah. So many.
I don't necessarily like in my mind think, oh, Tori Kelly sounds like those people. When you're saying those references, though, what I do see is that you're a vocalist. Like that, those people are people that we look at as like vocalists, whether it's Maxwell, Christina Aguilera, Brandy, any of those names.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, showcasing real, vocal ability and kind of pushing the envelope, whether it's backgrounds or range or tone, is definitely something seen throughout your work. When you were developing what kind of artist you wanted to be, or even before we even get there, I'll say, like, when did you know you wanted to be, actually like a musician, a vocalist, like somebody that did music for a living?
Man, probably super young. I have a hard time even thinking of when I wanted to do anything else besides singing. I think there was just, I mean, you probably relate to this too, just like you're just kind of in it as a kid, and then, thankfully, things worked out to where I look back at, the age where I would have maybe had to start thinking about like moving out and getting like a normal job. And I look back on that time, I'm like, wow, that's right when things started kind of happening. Like a lot of my friends were going to college, and I even thought about, maybe I'd do like a music school or something. And it was like literally my friends that went to music school, they were like, no, like you're kind of doing what we're trying to do. Like, you should just
you're doing the
stick.
experience.
Yeah, like things were starting, thankfully were starting to kind of happen. But I look back and like, wow, that would have been interesting if, there was maybe I would have had to figure something out or whatever. But I'm very fortunate that I've just kind of been in it my whole life.
What was your journey on what success would look like for you as a musician, right? Because we live in an era where it's defined by many things. It could be defined by, I got 20 million views on Instagram, or it could be defined by, I'm selling out, arenas. I think the conversation around commercial success obviously is very nuanced, but then there's also like, I have a cult following niche, a whole world. What was your kind of idea? Did you think to yourself like, oh yeah, I want to be, like I don't know who the name would be, like in arenas, or I want to be in festivals? What was kind of your idea of what success as a musician? What did it look like?
That's such a good question, because I definitely think my idea of success has changed over the years. I think, as a kid, and this is still very true, like I think that the heart of it, I always just wanted to be on stage. So it didn't matter how big the stage was. I just loved performing. I loved the rush that gave me. And I literally started writing songs so that I could do shows. Like I think of that all the time. I get sometimes caught up in the studio and like, trying to make a hit and like what's gonna like pop off. And then like I have to remind myself like, wait, you're literally doing this because you love to perform. Like that's the main thing for me always, is like touring and performing, being on stage. So I remind myself of that sometimes, because I think it's easy to get caught up in like the business of it all, or the charts of it all, or the, you know what I mean? So I think that really grounds me, just thinking of the purity of like how I started and just loving to sing live. And I feel like I've kind of like owned that more as I've gotten older, and even like recently, as I kind of define what success is for me now, it's crazy because in this industry, I'm sure you know this too, it's like you can get so caught up in what's next and like what's the next step. Okay, how can we elevate? How can we get bigger? That you forget that you've already succeeded in so many different areas. Like there's always someone better. There's a comparison thing that is so common, I think.
Especially
really
in this
for everyone.
Social media. Yeah, I must say, it's like
for everybody. But I think I've talked to a lot of artists, and it's like it's just that same kind of story. So I definitely, I'd be lying if I said I didn't struggle with that. So I think it's something I have to like remind myself of like, okay, yes, let's elevate, and let's like, how can we grow and build? But that's all. That should be at this point in my career. That's like fun. Like that should be fun. That shouldn't be the stressful thing of like, I'm trying to make it. Like I gotta also look back.
I think it's so important when you talk about like too the concept of like what a hit record is, or what it means to be like that commercially popular thing. Like I don't even know what that's really defined by anymore, because the goalpost is constantly moving. Like does it matter if you're on a Billboard 100? Does it matter if you're having a sold out show but have a Billboard 100? Like what is actually the defining factor of that? And then also like I think what we consider commercial success is necessarily always in line with what we value and what it is that we do, right? Like, I'm curious when you're talking about going in the studio and writing a song, like, and thinking about performing the song, how much do you think that greatly impacts like what people would consider a hit record, especially with somebody singing at your level? Like, you're not going to just be like, giving you a teeny bop, 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 bop. Or would you want to? Obviously, you've played around with, different vibes on this current project, but like, that has to impact the style of song that you're willing to do, right? It's like the difference between Nas and Drake.
Yeah, I think this album is kind of a good example of like me just playing in the studio, like getting to a point in my career where I'm like, okay, there's actually certain things that I haven't done yet that I think I would be bummed if I got to the end of my career, end of my life, whatever, and look back and I don't want to like wish that I did certain things. So with this album, it was like, okay, I really miss dancing. Like I grew up dancing. I want to do a little more of that. So let's write songs that make me want to dance. Let's write songs that, the last couple albums I had, really mainly my last one, it was definitely more like guitar, singer, songwriter, like super heavy lyrics, 'cause I was going through a lot. That was the place I was in my life. And so healing from all of that, it's like, okay, I'm really happy. I'm in love. I'm feeling really confident right now. Let's write music that reflects that. So I think it's really just that simple for me. I don't know what the next album's gonna sound like. I'm loving the sound that John Bellion and I have like started. It kind of feels like the start of something. But then, I guess to answer your question about just the, like, what is a hit record, I guess, like there, of course there's a little bit of that always comes in the studio. Like if you're writing music that, if I'm going in and I'm saying, okay, I want to write just like big sounding songs that feel really good. I want to go back into sort of, that like pop R&B mainstream thing, whatever that is. So of course there's a little bit of like, okay, let's make sure it's catchy, at the least. Like let's try to put in all those things. But I'm realizing is like you said, like in today's day and age, there's so little control I have.
And I have a problem. I personally have a problem with that in the studio. It becomes very, very difficult. And I feel like, obviously you signed record deals at a young age, just like I did. And you know the system, when you're put into that system, how draining it can be, where everybody is telling you it's time to make a hit, it's time to make a hit. And you going into the studio and you can't even really create something that just feels fun and good, because you're trying to do, because and then it's hard, because it's like a hit for me is not a hit for you. So like Hit Me Baby One More Time is not a hit on Brandy. And Have You Ever Loved Somebody is not a hit on Britney. So it's like, what do you mean make a hit? It becomes very, very difficult, where I find myself, like, especially in my later years, really like pushing away from whatever that idea is of commercial success, which I think again is very nuanced, right? Because we have people like Frank Ocean who actually are very like niche artists that happen to be quite commercial at the same time, but ultimately just has a close relationship with their fans. And to me, that's the most important. Like, and even when I think about you, like, in the label system, you were signed at 12 with Geffen, and that kind of was a thing. And then you emerged. You're one of the people that emerged from social media, like YouTube, at a time where that was just first happening, and was able to create an immediate connection with your fans. I'm curious of how that relationship has grown over the years, and what your power has been in that, and how it's informed your career.
I mean, wow, yeah, my relationship with my fans, I think, has been the driving force, for my career. Because, I mean, like you said, I was signed so young, probably around the time that we met. I feel like I was getting signed, Geffen Records, everything was like so crazy, moving fast. I was like, oh my gosh, like I've made it, it's crazy. Because back then it was like, if you got signed, you made it. And I don't think it's necessarily that way now with the internet. And it's like, there's so many ways to make it now. But back then, it was like, oh my gosh, I made it. So when that didn't work out, when it was, started getting like political and different people and, being president and coming in and out and stuff like that, like changes on the label side. So it didn't work out with me. And then, here I am, 13, 14 years old, thinking like, oh my gosh, my career's over. Like I don't have a label anymore, which is so crazy. I'm so young already thinking that. And so YouTube, for real. Yeah, YouTube, I think, really kind of saved me in a way, because it was this alternate way, like, to make it. And it was a community. So it felt like, I can go over to my friend, AJ Raphael's house, and he's already got this following. This is crazy. And like, he's asking me to do videos with him, and, we'll do these covers. And then all of a sudden, his fans are coming over to my page, and then I'm collaborating with this person. And these are some of my closest friends to this day. Like, it was a real community. I stopped thinking about, like the labels and what a hit song is. Like, none of that mattered. And I was just having fun. And so I'm really grateful for that time, because what came out of that was actually my first like viral moment, which was speaking of Frank Ocean, that Frank Ocean song. And so I think that was I think there's a lot of people that would say, oh, I remember you from that. Like that was like a starting point for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Who remember me from, YouTube and stuff. So it's just crazy because there's people that come to my shows and they've been around for that long. Some of them even longer.
So cool.
And I think that connections, like you said, that's the most important thing. I may not have control over like what is a hit or what ends up going, I don't know, beyond like the fan base that I have. But at the end of the day, like just reminding myself like, oh my gosh, I have these fans, these amazing people who are just like down and just rocking with me, and we're all having fun. And like I actually get to do shows off of that. Like that to me it fills me with gratefulness because it's like a full circle thing. It's like it's now okay, I've had this amazing career. I still have so much more to do. This is amazing, but it's that mentality of like, okay, this is what I've always loved, is just performing, and now I get to connect with fans. So anyway, I'm kind of rambling, but you're getting me all inspired.
I get exactly what you're saying because it really is all relative, right? Like when we think about like, because there's some people that'll be like, oh, I know you, I just found you from Password, and I'm like, I've been in the industry for 20 years, but I'm so glad that you finally, I'm so glad that you finally found me.
You're like, welcome,
baby. This is Keke Palmer, yeah.
Braids, faux locks, twists, and knots. Your girl has dabbled with all of them, okay? And the freedom and joy I experience while staying true to myself and my ancestors by rocking my natural hair is unparalleled. I love my kinks and twists and coils, and you should too. Knowing there are Black folks out here still getting discriminated against for how we wear our hair doesn't sit right with me. And our amazing sponsor, Dove, agrees. In 2019, Dove co-founded the Crown Coalition to advocate for the passage of the Crown Act, which prohibits race-based hair discrimination based on hair texture and protective styles in the workplace and in K-12 public schools and charter schools. Dove supports the Crown movement by driving awareness of the issue of race-based hair discrimination, advocating for the Crown Act petition signatures, and championing a world that respects and celebrates the beauty of Black hair. And not to get y'all all after school special, but with a goal of reaching 1 million signatures, we need y'all to show up and show out. Okay, so join Dove and taking action to help end race-based hair discrimination by signing the Crown Act petition at dove.com/crown. I'm curious of your time on American Idol, right? Like, I remember when you went on American Idol, I was like, that's so cool that, because, you're kind of even at that point already pretty legendary in the industry, right? Like, what was the journey of you saying, I'm going to do American Idol?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I guess that was sort of, how old was I? I was 16. So yeah, I had already sort of been, signed to a label. And I think for me, it was like, I'd signed to a label, and then I had done all of these like competition shows as a kid on TV, like Star Search, America's Most Talented Kids. And so it seemed like even at that young age, I was kind of at a point where early on I was like, oh, I wouldn't do American Idol like that. I'm kind of doing my thing over here. And then when all those doors were being closed, I was like, okay, I guess I'll try it. And I think the age back then, it was actually 16. I think that was, so I turned 16 and I was like, I mean, what would it hurt? Like all of these opportunities haven't really worked out. So, what's the worst that could happen? Like I could get, maybe some cool exposure from this. So I went on it, and I wasn't really expecting like to win or anything. Cause I knew, I kind of, even at that age, I knew how those shows worked. Is like,
exactly. You kind of win if they can put you in a 360.
Exactly. No, yeah. I will say, like, fast forwarding to when I got cut, I was sad at first which I wasn't expecting to be so sad. I think it was less sad about not making on the show and more sad about, okay, this is just another door that's being closed, and like, dang, when's it going to happen for me kind of thing. But then the next day, my parents were like, well, maybe this is a blessing in disguise, because I got cut like right before I think you had to start signing stuff. Exactly. It was literally like if I got into the next round. So it was definitely a blessing in disguise in more ways than one. But yeah, I think the main thing for me going on that show was just like experience. And what's crazy is we talked about YouTube stuff already, but I met some really awesome people on my season that led to like the YouTube stuff. So it all, for me, is all connected. And it's so crazy because I was just a mentor on American Idol, which is like
It's freaking
the most
amazing.
crazy full circle thing ever.
But I love the way that you mentioned too, like just using that show for exposure. And I think that like every scenario that we do like in life, I think that's such a great way to think about it. It's like it's not always like whatever the concept is of winning, you know, American Idol or a show or that job or that thing. It's what you can do with it. When you lost, or not lost, but when you didn't move on to that next level, you thought to yourself, well, actually, I would say you won in that regard. But when you were thinking, you were like, oh, when is it going to happen for me? I'd love to know, like, when did you feel like it happened for you? Because obviously you know that it's happened for you now.
But
it's when
happened,
was,
for sure.
what was the moment where you felt like it happened for me? It's happening for me.
Yeah, I think my first album, like just putting out an album, it was literally like on the day that it came out. So not even how well it did or anything like that. It was just simply putting out an album, because if you think about it, I was 22 when my first album came out. I had already been in the industry for 10 years at that point.
Yep.
So or you could even say I had been a recording artist for 10 years. So even though I was so young, like 22 is so young, but I bawled like a baby. I mean, when just like right when it came out, I was like, whoa, like this is all that I've wanted. Like now, you know, now I can work with this. Now we can do shows. Now we, you know, I think that year really, like 2015 was a year where I was like, whoa, okay, I think I've made it now. I think I'm, you know, I can do this now, I think for the rest of my life in some capacity. But I'm actually curious how, because you've had such an incredible career too, I want to ask you that same thing. Like, when for you was that moment?
It's a really good question, because I really love what you said about putting that album out, because I don't know that a lot of people understand, especially when you're in the label system, how freaking difficult it is for them to just okay something, and for you to actually like all your hard work to get to the point of people hearing it. It's fine if it's like two people, like, but just can somebody just let me put this shit out? So I really relate to that. But I think for me, when it comes to my career, you know how it is with our industry. A lot of times it's like everything is not seen as one thing. So I feel I've had a couple different moments in the different aspects of my career. Like with acting, I think that I felt like, whoa, you know, like this is really happening for me when I got my own show on Nickelodeon. Like when I did True Jackson VP. Yes. I think for me, I was like, I never knew. Like I got my, like I have a show on the network that I grew up watching. For me in entertainment, I was like, whoa, this is really happening for me. And then I think I had like a switch and bait moment with music where it was probably similar to you, where it's like when I got my first record deal, I was like, oh, this shit is happening for me. But then obviously that was quite short lived. And then you go through enough of those experiences with music where you're kind of like, I don't know if that's even a good thing to get another record deal.
And you're like, just to hype you up for a second, because I've just been in awe of your career and just who you are as a person, knowing you for so long and seeing, like, because you don't have just, it's like you have 5 different careers. Like, it's so impressive to me. Like, I'm always like, okay, I dabble in, you know, acting and whatever, but like, I'm a singer, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of my thing, and I maybe dabble in these other things, but I feel like you have been so, like, successful and just influential in, like, all these different areas. Like, you can't pinpoint one thing about you that's great. So, yeah, I think you're just going to inspire, like, so many people in this, you know, next generation, too, with just what is possible and how you can just kill it.
That means the absolute world to me, and I love you so much, but I'm not going to let you off that easy with not admitting the reality. I mean, when you did your Handmade EP, you literally handmade everything from producing to writing to singing. Let's not get crazy, because my girl knows how to do everything as well. You be killing it. I mean, and you play. I mean, you were actually a musician. Like, you really know what you're doing. How does that play out in the studio? Like, are you kind of like when you're with a producer, you're like, oh no, wait a minute, like drop that beat, let that come in real quick? Like, are you like actively making sure everybody's on their P's and Q's, or are you the kind of collaborator that's like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna just be the singer today? Or do you really like lean in more and kind of like really produce the sessions in totality?
Yeah, it kind of depends on who I'm working with. I'm always gonna be vocal about you know, if it's my song, I'm gonna, you know, if like the drums aren't hitting right or something, like I'm gonna say something. So I'm definitely involved, I would say, and I love being, you know, in the room, like writing from scratch, building the song from scratch. But that being said, there has been a phase in my career, like more recently, where I've been open to, like, if I just love a song, like I'll cut the song, but I'll do it literally right here. Like this is my home studio, and
Wow.
I've just been open to, if I connect with a song, I love the song, like I'll just, you know, I'll record it. Whereas in the past, I would have been like, no, like I didn't write it, so I'm not singing that kind of thing.
Yeah. That's a thing. Obviously, when somebody's a very talented writer, such as yourself, like it definitely is a thing I've seen with other friends of mine that are artists that write. They're like, I don't want nobody writing my song, but it's like it's fun.
Yeah, yeah. It just depends. Like I think it's seasonal too. I mean, I could totally see, you know, next project being like, no, I gotta be super close lyrically to these songs, whatever. But I think this chapter, I'm much more in, I mean, not, of course I relate to all the songs that I'm doing and they're very much coming from me, but I think the lens that I'm seeing them through is more as a performer. I'm like, okay, these are the songs I feel great about. Let's go on stage. What's the visual? What's the aesthetic? All of that. But yeah, I guess I would say I'm definitely involved though in the studio for sure. And especially when it comes to the vocal production, I love all that stuff.
Speaking of performance, you know, there was like a really kind of like little angsty lyric that I want to ask you about and ask you about kind of that period of time that you were in at your life when you did Unbreakable Smile. You said, maybe I could sell out a show without taking off my clothes. I'm curious, like, where were you at that time that made you say that? Like, what were you experiencing and kind of what was your point of view of the industry at that time?
Yeah, so it was my first album, the song Unbreakable Smile. And that song, just to give context for where I was at, it's funny because we've already kind of laid the groundwork with everything I'm about to say, but I was just signed to Capitol Records at the time. Remember, I'd already been signed to Geffen back in the day. So I kind of, you know, I was like, okay, I'll try this label thing again. Signed with Capitol. And, you know, I had like this big team at this point, and so we were doing, you know, meetings, and I'm playing them songs, and I'm like super excited about the songs, and it's just the classic, like, oh, we love it, but there's no hit, you know, or they didn't say the word hit. It was like no single, which means, you know, hit. But like, you know, we just don't know which one would be the single, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. After like, you know, meeting after meeting of that, I was so frustrated and got, you know, because I had all these songs. And I got to this point where I was like, okay, and I do this, I still do this where I'll kind of, you know, write with a bunch of different people and whatever, and then I'll get like this, just, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like, it's just like this bottled up feeling inside of just, I don't even know what this is. I don't care if it's catchy or not. I don't know what I'm about to say, but then it just like all comes out like word vomit. And that was literally that song, Unbreakable Smile, because I took all of the frustration of my whole career up to that point of people saying, you know, oh, maybe she's just too boring, you know, like she sings amazing, but there's, you know, what else is there? Where's the personality, whatever.
And that's and I'm curious do you think that is the basis of, like, for instance, is that more commentary on, you know, the industry itself, or is it specifically commentary on pop and R&B, the genre of pop and R&B? And the reason why I ask that is because we have people like Norah Jones, you know, we got NDRE, you know what I'm saying? We got you know, what's the girl that does the piano?
Not Vanessa Carlton.
You know Vanessa Carlton. Like, we have people that make huge, you know, that have popular records. Maybe they don't have, you know, maybe they're not like, you know, consistently like the mainstream topic, but they've had mainstream breakout moments. Even Lauryn Hill, but she's maybe like, you know, would you think like soul, R&B, kind of like rap? I guess what I'm asking is like, is the pop R&B, are you forced as a pop R&B artist, whether you black or white, to kind of, you know, you can't be like, right, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't be like Norah Jones and do R&B and pop music. Like you can't like be Vanessa
so
Carlton, and
interesting.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like why is it like with pop R&B the image has to be a specific thing? Because I do think it's a fair criticism. Like, or you know, that when I think about that lyric or whatever, I do think it's a fair criticism to say, even though people can wear and do whatever they want, I think the thing is can people actually wear what they want in R&B and pop and still be valid? I'm not sure.
Right.
You know?
Right. That's, I mean, yeah, everything you're saying is like, it's such an interesting take for sure. Because that lyric it was never like, you know, directed at anyone in particular or, you know, like me saying that or judging anyone who does show skin. But I just always, since I was a little kid, like I just never felt comfortable doing that. And I always, I'm even just now having more fun with like fashion and you know, expressing myself through my clothes.
Yeah.
Whereas I always was like, I'm just going to wear something really plain so that you focus on the music. I want you to focus on, you know, my voice. I don't want any like distraction. So that was like where I was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's interesting you said, yeah, like pop R&B or mainstream, whatever you want to call it, because I do think that people my whole life who've, you know, come alongside me in my career, I think I have been called like a challenge to like I think I'm hard to market maybe in you know what typically works, or if there's like a formula, I don't necessarily fit in that formula. And so a part of that song, Unbreakable Smile, for sure. And I think that's good. I think it's
That's
dope
right.
when you don't fit the mold. And so that was me. That song was written by me from the realization of me kind of like owning that fact instead of being frustrated about it. I was like, wait, maybe this is a good thing. Yeah, like you can't put me in a box. I don't fit the mold. And like that's where that kind of like angst came from. And
I love that.
What's crazy is that I think that when I showed the team that song, and that's, you know, they're like, oh, this is great. Like, which is it's so funny because I'm like, no, like y'all aren't supposed to like this.
I wanted you guys to hate this. Why do you love it? Damn it.
I'm like,
yet again,
it's so
I can't
funny.
rebel.
So exactly. So like they're like, oh, this is great, you know, some fire, whatever. So that was sort of the foundation for my first album.
And I also feel like it's so cool too, because I do think it's funny when we think about like the YouTube era of Tori Kelly and how so many people found you that way, because I also do think like when I think about, you know, artists' narrative storytelling or their brand identity, what's so cool about it is yours is the girl that knows music and the girl that could sing down. You know what I mean? And that's it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to be, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm that bitch that you're like, Tori, sing real quick. You know what I mean? Like, that's me. Like, I'm that girl that you're like, yo, call up Tori. She about to smoke her ass real quick. Sing, Tori. You know what I mean? Like, that is you. Like, let me be the bitch and sister act that gets the solo.
So funny.
Because that's me. And, you know, it's just so interesting how we as artists have to go on this huge journey to figure out how to literally market and articulate that to the people. You know, it's really becomes a language where it's like beyond just me singing and doing the song and doing the dance. I have to actually figure out how to market myself and like help you understand where I fit in the movie. and you're asking a lot of me at that point. And so
y'all figure it out.
No, seriously, for you on that journey, like how have you, you know, what is it that you want people to know about you, you know, or what is it that you're trying to ultimately express when it comes to the Tori Kelly brand, you know, and who you are as an artist?
I just would love to, well, I'll put it this way. I think it's really awesome and really like a gift from God to be able to articulate people's emotions like for them, if that makes sense. Like I think so I guess like whether or not we talked about, you know, songwriting and whether or not the song is coming from me or maybe it's, you know, sent to me and I sing it, at the end of the day I'm still the one like conveying that emotion or expressing that emotion for other people to then relate to. And
that's right.
So it goes beyond me. Like I'm out here singing my songs and writing my songs, doing my thing, but I think the coolest thing as an artist is, and as a singer, is to be able to hear stories of like, oh my gosh, when you sang this, it got me through this, or when you sang this song, I was, going through this hard time, whatever, or this was the soundtrack to like this relationship that I'm in now, all these different things. I'm like, whoa, that has nothing to do with me, but how cool that I could be a part of people's lives, and impact them in that way. And I think that's really like the coolest thing ever. So I think to continue to do that, and
Yep.
Music is just so powerful. I think that it's like the possibilities are endless. You can, like, music can really change things, which is pretty sick. It's a big responsibility.
I just know one day you're going to kill us with a amazing soundtrack record too, and give us that.
Ooh.
My heart will go on. I just know. I just see you with a flowing thing in the middle of a field,
flowing thing.
and it's like
Yeah.
a little floating jacket, and you just singing your heart
Yeah.
out. And we're like, yes, this new Disney or this new Universal Pictures, big, huge
Yeah.
James Cameron movie. I just know we're gonna get. I just
Speak it,
can't wait.
speak it.
We're gonna get so many amazing, different, unique moments from you. But I'm also like, I know that one is like in my mind.
What
that
if
I want.
maybe you're starring in the movie and then I'm doing the song? You know what I mean?
The title track. It's giving title track. It is. It is.
Yes.
Do you feel like the things that motivated you to make music, when you were younger, are the same things that motivate you to make music now?
Oh, that's such a good question. Not the evil laugh. Yeah, I mean, I would say yes, actually, because that's something that I actually think about a lot, and trying to. I kind of touched on this before, but yeah, that purity of just like loving to sing and loving to perform. I think that's something I'm constantly going back to. So yeah, me putting out. I've come to this realization recently, but it's like if I were to. I think someone asked me this, like if you were to put out an album and say it did really well, like went number one or whatever, but you could never perform it, like you could never do anything, like you were just in the studio, like pumping out hits, but you could never like go on tour, I'd be like, I don't think I would take that deal. Like I really feel so strongly about just being able to like share my heart, live and sing live. So I feel like I sound like a broken record now because I've said that a lot, but
that makes total sense.
yeah, like realizing that allows me to answer that question of, am I doing it for the same reasons as when I was a kid? So it would be yes, because that was for sure like the dream. Was to just sing.
That is so dope. Well, Tori, it's amazing speaking to you always, and I know I have to let you go. But before I let you go, I'd like to do a quick game that I do with all my guests that come to the show. Are you down?
Okay, I'm down.
Okay, so it's called Here For It or Nah. It's really simple. I'm just going to list some buzzy topics, and you tell me whether you're here for it or not. Sound good?
Okay.
You're like, I think so. Okay, here it is.
Let me drink my matcha real quick. Okay, now I'm ready.
Okay, diss tracks. Here for or not?
I'm kind of here for it, actually.
Come on, rap battle. Rap battle so real quick. Drake or Kendrick?
No. See, I just put myself in a hole. No, I will say, the reason I'm here for it is because I do, some stuff's kind of mean, but I do love that it brought out, like, just the
Fire.
like the art of hip hop was like, whoa, like they're coming with some great lyrics and great bars and whatever, I sound like I know nothing about hip hop, but so I guess I'm here for that part of it.
I love that. No, I feel you because it just gets people excited. I think rap battling is a big part of, the foundation of hip hop. So yeah, when we get into it, we're going to get some of that good stuff. AI bringing holograms of dead musicians back. Here for it or nah?
Whoa.
Whoa gagged me. She said, whoa.
Why am I thinking of the Tupac one?
Yeah, that was scary.
Like a long time ago though.
That was so scary. The Tupac one and the Whitney Houston one both scared me. I can tell you that I am not here for it.
You're not.
I'm not.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm probably not here for it. Yeah, that's weird. It's when like technology is like a little too good.
Yeah. Scooter Braun, here for it or not?
Here for it. Here for
Ooh,
it.
here for it. She said
Yeah.
great.
Like I've known Scooter for a really, really long time, and yeah, we have a lot of history together. I've nothing bad to say about Scooter Braun. Yeah.
New season of American Idol. Here for it or not?
Oh, here for it for sure, because I got to be a mentor. And congrats to Abby. Abby is who won, and she's one of the people I got to mentor. Like she was in my group, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, she's amazing. Incredible singer.
Well, thank you so much, Tori. You're absolutely amazing. I love
Thank
you.
you.
Congrats on the new album. Keep killing that. And
Thank you, girl.
XOXO.
So good chatting with you.
Tori is such an inspiring person and an amazing musician. I love all of her music, and it was so fascinating to just dive a little deeper into where her style comes from and what her overall mission as an artist is. I guess what I got from the conversation is that rolling with the punches and the power of rolling with them, how to get through reshaping ourselves over and over again is how we actually find and continue to evolve ourselves. Think about that. And I'll see you next time, because it's your girl.
Baby, this is Keke